you're very much one of those kind of, treat every day as a kind of amazing gift and try as many things as you can do and have that kind of amazing, exciting life. And, but I mean, a lot of it focuses around motorcycles.
Yes.
So, where did that start? I mean, did you come to it later? Have you ridden all your life? How did you get into bikes?
That's a really, really good question. And I don't know if anybody else did it, but I had a push bike and I fitted a bit of cardboard to my rear. I don't even know what to call it really. What's that bottom of the subframe or the back of a push bike? But a bit of cardboard, so it made like a single cylinder noise. Yeah. And that started happening. I was just cycling around my local estate. And then my dad very much regrets bringing home a Yamaha Pasola, which is like a step-through little beige 49cc moped, basically. And it had a box on the back and a basket on the front, and I got rid of the basket because that wasn't cool, obviously. And then, but I kept the box, and on the box in pen I'd written, if I could go faster, I would. And it did about 40 miles an hour at best. And I lived in Jersey at the time, and that was my first feel for what it meant to be on two wheels. And we can probably all think about that first initial feeling of that and movement and that sense of freedom. And that was when I was 15, where I ragged that. And I had a little I think called it a piss pot helmet. Try not to swear too much because of a child. Hey, Emily. But yeah, I had that little helmet on and just rode that around the island. You know, when you're trying to get up a hill and it's got no go to it, that was it.
When you start getting overtaken by milk floats uphill.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
The only people who could race and actually possibly beat on those kind of things.
Yeah. And I think we can all empathise with that initial connection of what it means to ride a motorcycle, that first sense of freedom, and that's what started it off.
And then where did you progress from there? Because when did you start racing? Because you've been racing quite a while.
That was about 6 or 7 years ago now.
Yeah.
So that from the moped to 125 and then a little bit of a break till I got a bigger bike when I could afford the kit and equipment. Mm-hmm. And then racing started about 6 or 7 years ago on a Honda CB500. So that was when Thundersport was. So the CBs are great, so I wanted a single bike class to race with, and that was with Thundersport, because Thundersport have just closed down this year, and so I started racing with them.
Fantastic. So after your first little bike,
yes.
What did you progress? What was your kind of progression through bikes?
Oh, progression through bikes. So the bike CV, interesting. I'd be interested who else has got had something similar. So I had a Malaguti Firefox for a little bit. So I went. It's just like one of the Peugeot Street Fighters, but like a Malaguti version. It's very pretty. But then I had a DT125, so my first two-stroke. Which was a good classic, and that got impounded actually.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, why? No, don't scoot over that with I got impounded anyway.
Yeah, and got confiscated. I never saw it again. So I was in Jersey, and there's a 40 mile an hour speed limit around the island, and I was on a dual carriageway along our west coast, and there was an unmarked police car that caught me and my friend speeding on it, and then when I was pulled over, I then had the bike taken away from me because on initial assessment, it might not have been as street legal as I first thought. So I think...
Unbeknownst to you, of course.
Oh, absolutely. So firstly, it was de-restricted, and then some of the spokes were missing and rusted away. And the chain was in a poor state of disrepair. And the disc brakes were too thin. You know, all the classic stuff that would just make something really, really unsafe. That. And I was riding it in like surf shorts and flip flops and all the worst stuff that you just wouldn't ride in. And then I had to go to court, like
It feels like you're now regretting bringing this story up.
It was a magistrate's court because I was over the speed limit, but the hearing got cancelled because the magistrate went to read the list of offences and the paperwork just did this of all the things that was wrong with the bike, and so it got just kind of annulled. Moved on to another date because I couldn't be bothered.
There's too much here to go through.
Yeah, literally.
We'll have to give an entire day
hearing,
just for the state of Lara's bike.
Yeah, really bad, really, really bad. In fact, that DT125 took a great chunk out of my shin because I fell off it. And your foot pegs have got these serrated edges to them to grab your feet. That just dug out a little bit of like the shin fat. It was really good. Really good. So that's a cool scar. Anyway, DT125 for a bit, and then I went to, I don't know if I can say Bristol here. Am I allowed to say Bristol? Is that acceptable?
Yeah. Anyone upset with the word Bristol?
I wasn't entirely sure if there's any into other side of the river
don't say
rivalry.
Cardiff.
Okay, fine. Okay, right, I can't say that. So I was at uni for a little bit, but then I had a job as a scooter man, and I think we had that facility in actually, I think it was in Cardiff for a little bit. So has anyone heard of the Scooterman company at all? So you ride a monkey bike to a client's car, and when they've been out on the piss, you take. Sorry, Emily. You take their car home. So it was a Jincheng 90cc semi-automatic.
Didn't they do that on Top Gear?
Monkey bike, yes.
Yeah, they went and collected so they could drive as many people's cars as they liked.
So it exists in like London as a company and franchised out. And so I worked at uni for Scooterman. I mean, it's obviously not very gender neutral, but close enough. And there's the few sideline stories if you wanted me to go off on about that one, along with me taking my helmet off and the faces of the owners of the car going, sorry, you're going to drive my car? I was like, yes, I am. And the other worst one was if I'd taken them home driven them home, and occasionally I'd be driving in the car and they'd start a conversation with me, and a couple tried to chat me up. Just bear with me, right? So this is people that have been out drinking and then haven't pulled before they've started, haven't pulled in the club, haven't even pulled the club when the lights are on, and then they're still trying to pull the person driving them home. I'm like, I am really your last resort here, aren't I? But yeah, that was a fantastic job. The bikes were a good laugh because you could, they'd do about 50 miles an hour down a hill with a tailwind behind a massive lorry. You're just doing your absolute best to ride a monkey bike around, and you just buzz taxis. Taxis would hate you, so you're scraping foot pegs on these little 90s. It was brilliant. So that kind of kept my itch, the itch to ride.
Before you go on to the next bit, I have to ask.
Yes.
The best car you drove, having picked up.
Oh,
because they must, because that's quite an expensive
kinds.
Service, isn't it? So surely that's.
It's cheaper. It's marketed at being cheaper than the cost of a return taxi.
Oh, okay.
So it made sense. Yeah. And when you type your car into the system, they as long as your car would fit a bike in it. So there were certain convertibles we couldn't take, but you could fit it in like a Ford KA. The bike would come apart, wow. So the headstock would come off, the handlebars would come wrap around itself, the fuel tank got double bagged, and then you lift the frame and the rear wheel as a lump, and that was it done, and they would just fit inside cars and stuff. Oh, cool. Stank of fuel, which I loved, but no one else liked. But yeah, at the time when I was doing it, cars had turned. There were like more 4x4s out, so as in it was kind of like the first generation of where like Porsche made their 4x4s, like the early the Cayman or the Cayenne?
Cayman, yeah, the Cayman, yes.
Or Land Rover. Mind you, Land Rover's already done them, but it was like the first evolution on the Volkswagen Touareg or the early versions of that. So they were pretty good. Yeah. But the best car was the ones that were just in a poor state of disrepair, as in had no speedo or you didn't know where the lights were. And you go from Japanese to German cars, and the indicators and the windscreen functions are on the other way around. Yeah. And I'd be putting lights on and indicators on. I'm like, I am a competent driver, honest. And then I learned very quickly that going from automatic to manual meant that I really had to wedge my left foot way away from anywhere near any pedal, because I just send everybody slightly further forward than planned. So that was quite good. And then people would tell me when I'd drive up to their house, they'd be like, oh yeah, just drop me off here, please. I was like, I am in your car, this isn't a taxi. Because you get into that habit, and then there's kind of this, you know when you sit in a taxi, like you just know where to put yourself, maybe back left away from the driver, yeah? But in your own car, you're like, do I sit in the front of my own car? Do I sit at the side? It was all a bit confusing. So it was quite a good laugh.
Yeah.
And there was another random couple that couldn't wait to get home. And that was awkward. It was a long drive. I was like, where's the radio on this?
I am very focused on the road ahead.
Yes,
I am very focused.
Yeah. And there was also a ratio I made up. So the larger the vehicle, the smaller the gates to the house. Definitely an inverse proportion fact.
Is it?
And then the worst bit was when I'd like reverse or parallel park or do something in the driveway, and maybe the gentleman might say, oh, my wife's never managed to do that. I'm like, I'm so sorry. With the wife in the back, like. But my bad.
So then after doing that, when did you start getting into
grown-up
bigger
bikes?
Yeah.
So that was, I got the CBR 600F and then started doing some like touring, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, getting your stuff in a bag and exploring a bit of the Yorkshire Dales, I think, at the time.
Yeah.
From Bristol, from Derby, where I work at the moment. And then that turned into more reckless behaviour on the road, to be totally honest. Because I just started throwing it around a bit.
Yeah.
And I think I was on like Snakes Pass or something in the Peak District, and you know, it's fabulous, isn't it? It's fabulous.
Snake Parks are lovely. Snakes Pass.
So I was around the back of there, or near the Cat and Fiddle,
Yeah.
Exactly. And there was a Cat and Fiddle left-hander, like I can remember it so vividly now, where I just totally overcooked it and just went straight out into the other side of the road, round a blind corner. I was like, that could have been the end of somebody's day.
Yeah.
And when that happened, I was like, it's probably time you took this to the track instead of trying to be too reckless on the road, which is why my track intent changed so I could stay off the road. And
so that's how you got into racing?
Yeah,
because I'm going to kill myself on the road, so I better do it somewhere safer?
I think so, because people think, oh, racing's super dangerous, but I think there's far more lethal behaviour that happens on the roads.
Well, you've got nothing coming at you.
It's
on a
one
track,
way.
do you? Yeah.
There's no furniture. I mean, obviously the TT in road racing is a separate endeavour, and even that's got safer in a certain way, because at least you know your road's your own.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one way. There's marshals on every corner. There's an air ambulance minutes away, and you can get. There's not the runoff is designed for you to do that very thing, is run off, whether that's a bad parking in the kitty litter or bouncing down somewhere else, of which I can attest to having tested numerous corners for their effectiveness in deceleration.
I can remember filming you and being terrified, if I'm honest.
Yeah, that's our favourite scene, isn't it?
Yeah. Lovely moment when you're filming Lara, you know, and she's out there and you're expecting to do a whole race weekend, and on the practice session, you're kind of like, oh, they've red flagged it. Oh, sorry. Right, everyone's coming in. Oh, there's no Lara.
Yeah. So it's interesting, really. And we, sorry, what was your first name again? Kate. It's interesting how in motorbike riding and racing that we catastrophize crashes. We never talk enough about the feeling it means, or what it means to take a corner or endure an S-bend, or nail your favourite chicane, or sort out your favourite roundabout. You just come back in and smile. But when you have one boo-boo, everybody rips into you, and so the highlight reel of a race weekend is people high-siding themselves off everywhere and the crashes and the chaos of it. But actually, 99% of the time, we're all enjoying such phenomenal corners or nailing our favourite road, but it doesn't get that kind of attention. Has anyone here done a track day at all? Yeah. What circuits have you?
Brands, Silverstone.
Nice.
Malawi.
Nice.
Just fun it is.
Yeah, scratching a few. What other circuits have we got on the go? So which one?
Pembrey.
I haven't done
Pembrey up here, yeah.
Oh, sweet.
Pembrey's got that horrible first corner, really sharp, It's and then the rest of it's pretty easy, except for that corner you have to brake like crazy for.
It's good. And you only really find out what proper braking feels like, I think, on a track, because you don't tend to push yourself on the road that much. But yes, I did track days.
Yeah.
And I think they're called hero pegs. You know those little peglets on the bottom of your foot pegs? I started scraping them because I wasn't hanging off enough. But at Mallory, round Gerrard's, anyone done Mallory? Big old right-hander. I was just kind of out going around the outside of people in the novice group. And even though it was just, you novice beating novices, it was clearly, I felt quite happy doing it. And that led to, I think one of the instructors was like, if you thought about racing, you've got something there. So me and a friend decided that we'd go for it. So she bought a van, I bought a CB500. And then I found myself at Brands Hatch in about March 2015 with 39 other bikes on the grid, about to send it into Paddock Hill Bend. That's an experience. That's an experience because you're all on they used to call the CB500 race a sound of thunder because a twin has got a great rumble to it, and they've all been obviously stripped out of any cats on them. So there's a really, really good rumble. And just the lights going out and the adrenaline rush is utterly incredible. And the lights go blank, and then you just let the clutch out and scream your way into Paddock Hill Bend. And I remember going down Paddock, around Graham Hill or the hairpin, and then coming round and going, I'm still alive, I'm here, I'm in a motorbike race.
And then you started racing because you're a reservist.
I am, yeah.
For the Army, and you
Army,
started
Royal Engineers, yeah.
Yeah. So how do you get into the Army motorsport team? Because that's pretty cool to be part of a team like that.
Yeah, well, it's not too bad. As long as you've got a few track days under your belt and you can, which way the gears go, it's not drastically difficult because they want to bring people on through their own ranks, as it were. So as long as you're confident enough to get on track and not be a liability, it's not that hard. It's just how much you want to punch with the team and start chasing podiums with them, basically. They've actually set up a method of helping people gain more track experience through endurance racing. So you do like 4-hour or 6-hour endurance races and learn how to work as a team together. And they've got like a C, B and A team. And so you get quite a lot of track time.
That's pretty cool.
For that development. And then when you start reaching like the top 10% of lap times, then you can move to the sprint team and then start doing 12 sprint laps and pulling that together. Yeah. So it's not as hard as you think. You just have to have the money to do it. So the big thing about any racing is that it's it's incredibly expensive. Even doing track days, it's mad. Yeah. You'd blow at least $1,000 a weekend, and there's 8 of those a year, and then that's keeping it clean, And when you start chasing lap times and chasing with your tyres, it gets a bit carried away. But with the Army team, we'd fund our own bikes and pay for that. But if there's 20 of you, you can get more bulk discounts with products and tyres. So that was where it kind of made more of a difference.
Okay.
So yeah.
So that kind of, but it's all. I'm guessing it's not just about what they can provide. It's also the fact that you're part of a team and you're out there supporting each other. Yes. Helping each other, talking about the track. Yeah.
So you set up in the paddock together. You're all in the same awning together. You do track walks together, and you learn from those who are more experienced to help you. So yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Cool. Teamwork.
And what bike do you race?
I race Surda. It's past tense now, isn't it, from last year?
Yeah, it is now. Yeah.
In fact, the outing at Alton Park, where I really badly parked it on my own head, was in your part of the series.
The crash wasn't, because you were the other side of the track when that happened.
Yeah. Well, I'll do most things for camera.
For the audience, to save them going and watching it, just run us through very quickly.
What happened?
That weekend, yeah.
Oh yeah, so the weekend was lovely, really. You did some nice slow-mo shots of us drinking coffee.
It was
great. It's great.
Thinking I had all the time in the world to get loads of other shots.
No, I totally tried to tip you off about that as well. I was like, you should probably record this bike in this condition now.
Yeah, you did, to be fair.
It literally was. I was like, this is the start of the race weekend. It's not going to look any better than this. So Justina had cleaned it. So this is my pit crew here. So this pair have suffered a lot of shouting and abuse. No, it was all good. No, it was fine. I was just testing at Alton, trying to get. You always benchmark yourself off your previous lap time from last year, and so I was just trying to get into my groove. Yeah. Has anyone done Alton Park at all? A bit of Alton. I think apparently it's the closest thing we've got to a road circuit. Not in terms of actually being on the road, but it's quite a narrow, undulating circuit.
There's quite a lot of tree cover as well, so
Good
you get
tree
all the
cover.
sap and
Yeah.
surely, all the kind of leaves and stuff go on the track.
It's not as
gotta
bad
be
as like
quite
the back
slippery.
of Cadwell Park through through the old hairpin. Goosenecks. Oh yeah, gooseneck took my finger. Well, I took my own finger, but that's a separate story. So I lost the tip of this finger because I didn't respect my tyre temperature. So Cadwell is a right-handed circuit, and so the tyres were warming up after an early qualifying got cancelled. We were on the grid for ages, and so the tyres were getting warm on the right, and then gooseneck is a sharp left-hander, and the tyres just went boop and because I ride quite wide on the bars, it just dropped the end of my finger off. How much detail can we go into with the fine? But now I can only count to like 9 3/4, which is a major problem. And I can't pick my nose with it anymore. And even now when I try and cut my nails, I always go for the 5th, and I'm like, no, it's still not there. And it fits perfectly inside my boyfriend's belly button, which he hates. Hates waking up to that.
Your fiance.
Your fiance.
Your fiance. Yeah.
Anyway, sidetrack slightly. So where were we? Alton Park, yes. So I was just testing, and I locked on the brakes, and they grabbed, and I think the back stepped out. But then I got concussed, so I think the back came round, and then I got hit on the side of the head and just had a really quick track nap. And then I was taken to a vehicle, which I don't remember. And then, did I walk there myself, did I? And then I came round in the med centre. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
you were
It's a good
talking a bit of gobbledygook for a while.
No worse than normal.
How old she was?
Really?
Yeah, no, that was one of the things, wasn't they? They were asking how old you were.
Yeah?
So I'm repeating what you're saying because they're not. When we do the video of it, no one's going to. So you were. They asked you how old you were, and you had no idea.
No way.
No clue. And
Isn't that mad?
That was very serious when we turned up because you couldn't remember it.
Yeah, that probably is quite bad, yeah.
Yeah,
Has anyone
well-
else been knocked out or been concussed? Yeah? Have you got any, what was it like for you? Obviously you don't.
Suffered a brain injury, so
Okay.
I'm a different person. So
Oh, wow. Oh, that's a proper one. Okay. And what about, who else has been concussed? Yeah, dude.
Oh, she's been drunk for a week, innit?
Got it. Yeah, so it's a bit of a lights out moment, but yeah, we're all right. I had my friends around, so it was okay.
And you had a guy filming you, despite.
Yeah,
the
there
fact
was a
that-
man filming me.
Yeah. Despite the fact you're.
And you got told off for that as well.
Well, I got told. Yeah, I did. Well, yeah, I did. Well, no, it's the ambulance guy said put you in there and kind of said, look, you haven't got permission to film me. I was like, oh, don't worry, you're not in the shot. I'm only filming Lara. He's like, oh, you should ask me permission first. I was like, okay, sorry, but I didn't film you, so I only filmed you, and I had permission off you.
Yeah,
So,
you did. I think anything, would have,
Yeah. So you've now taken the decision to step back from racing.
Road racing, yeah.
Road racing.
And by road, I mean tarmac, or not actual road.
Yeah. So because I know you still do a lot of flat track and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I was racing last week,
Yeah.
last weekend at Champions Flat Track School, which might be a little bit further away. It's like in Lincolnshire. Bungee, I don't know if there's any flat track circuits around here.
I don't know, to be honest.
yeah, there is.
Is it?
So up in Tarwag they do the DTRs and then once a year.
Perfect. Yeah.
Okay, there definitely is a flat track in Wales. Where is it?
In Tarwag.
Basically,
Basically on the way to Blackhampton, so about 20 minutes from here. But
Oh,
they
but-
only do once a year.
Oh, okay.
Like, 'cause it's a horse track. So
Oh,
is it
okay,
the
so you can't
DTRA
go down.
round?
Yeah.
it is part of the DTR.
Ah, cool. So, okay, apart from that, but why did you take the decision to retire from tarmac racing?
I don't
What-
think
what
I've
kind of-
fully stopped. I just can't afford it.
Oh, it's that simple, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
It's a ridiculous amount of money, and it's a great way to annihilate your bank balance and annihilate yourself if you're not careful. And I was just chasing too much. I think I was too anxious about lap times and obsessing with it.
So is that because of your competitive nature? Or do you think it's because, I mean, because I guess there is this thing, if you're paying that much to do this kind of stuff, you want to actually push and make it worthwhile, because you're kind of like, well, if I'm not setting good lap times and not getting good positions, why am I spending all this money?
Yeah, so you'd think that, and I don't know if anyone can empathise, but like, you know, when you want to do something, you want to do it properly, right? You don't want to just turn up and participate. And so my desire to be the best I could, to get the best lap time possible, meant that I wanted to push it, and that I couldn't just tell myself, okay, give yourself 90%. It doesn't, I don't think it works like that. If I really want to do it, I'll go for it. And that's what, but the more you try and go for it, with my level of experience, you operate in this kind of small margin of success. Motorbikes do lose grip, mistakes happen, the track is finite, you know, and so the desire to chase that perfect lap, it becomes, you're really operating quite a smaller margin than, say, ragging a car around, which has more of a safety feature to it. So I think I wanted to give it 100%, and when I do have a full-time job and a life, and I couldn't spend all my time perfecting how good I wanted to be on track. So it just made more sense. And racing is like 12 minutes on track, but racing is everything when you're doing a championship. Like, everything. It's all you think about. I'm trying to pay attention at work, but really I'm thinking, have I changed my brake fluid? When was the last time I checked the chain? What tyres are coming in? What needs repairing? Do I need a rebuild? That kind of stuff. It's just everything. And it's everything to your team as well. Like, I've got a team of people that were prepared to lose their weekends, and it's not just Saturday and Sunday, it's Thursday, packing, prepping, barbecue, camping, equipment setup, getting there to the circuit, then getting there, fixing.
I love the way that your team's sitting there and going, don't forget fixing your bike after you crash.
Fixing me,
Just constantly fixing you,
changes,
fixing the bike.
So it's just that intensity that when you stop and go, actually, I think we need to step away from a little bit now. That's where I realised, because the build up to I could not have done it without them. But when it's not just the track time, it's everything up to that. And when you've finished like tapping away at a keyboard at 3 o'clock on a Thursday, you're like, right, I'm race mode now. It's not my profession.
I did when I met your fiance. He did.
Oh God, that sounds so weird.
It's relatively new, actually, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Congratulations.
That's very kind. It's very kind. It's a new territory for me, but he has a favourite mountain in Canada that he fell in love with snowboarding with, and I decided to ruin it for him by proposing to him at the top of it. It was great.
So now it'll always be that mountain.
That mountain, yeah.
But because when I met him, he kind of said, all right, so this is the house, and then this is where Lara lives, and he just pointed to the garage. Just like
yeah, I'm really proud of some things, actually. So my nickname at home is Garage Troll, because that's where I live. Or Pest, that's my two names. And I think I tried to, not really deliberately, but I think I came out the garage once and then just got rid of whatever workwear I was wearing and then tried to get into bed, and he was like, no, you get in that shower now. I was like, okay.
The thing I love
disgusting behaviour
about when I went to your place is the fact that you were so into racing. So they've got this really nice house, really nice new build house, gorgeous house.
Yeah, it's cardboard box.
And it was, a really, really great house. And then you kind of, most people when they get a brand new house, they want to make it look as great as possible and things like that. So one of the first things they want to do is do the garden. What's in your garden, Lara?
Yes, what is in my garden? So like we hemorrhaged a lot of cash on kind of pulling the deposit together. So the garden is off to the side. So it's just a mud field. It's a new build, so it's clearly full of bricks, and they've just hidden it. That's what a new build garden usually is. So in the interim between finally paying for a garden, we've turned into a remote control car racetrack. So we've dug it out. The next door neighbour had like some old offcuts of decking that we've used to kind of put the sidings on. And we bought 6 remote control cars, like reasonable ones, off eBay, and loads of batteries. And we've got a start-finish straight, a chicane, a jump, the Nürburgring carousel, a sharp left-hander, a pit. That was for Ben for a Star Wars reference, a Sarlacc pit for anyone out there. And then a left-hander and then a jump to the finish. And there was a great point where Ben and I were neck to neck and we ended up at the jump at the end just annihilating each other in both cars. I think it's the best garden ever.
I'm with you. I told my son about it and he was just like, oh my, off the back of that, my son was then like, what do you want for Christmas? Because my son's into karting. And
he's very good at karting.
He's very good at karting, yeah. But this is about you.
No, he's...
So if I start talking about Ollie and karting, I'll go proud dad and I won't stop talking about him for like an hour.
It's a good thing.
But he's, because I showed him some pictures, because you sent me a load of pictures. And I showed him pictures and he was like, I was like, so what do you want for Christmas? He's like, oh, can I have a kart? It's like, no, we can't really afford a kart. We have to, He's like, okay. I could get a really cool remote control car like Laras.
Yes, you could. Yeah.
So that was his Christmas present.
It's a great shout.
Yeah. So we're lucky actually. We've got a BMX pump track.
Oh, it's perfect for it.
Literally just down the road. So he just he's great. It's great. Which did mean that we didn't have to dig up our garden, which is probably what would have happened if we'd not had that.
Yeah. We haven't quite got the money to go through the garden yet, but I really want to make the track, like as in
a proper track,
a permanent feature.
Yeah.
With like the rumble strips and stuff and tarmac it and things.
That'd be very cool. Well, you get all those kind of guys that build big outdoor train sets in their back garden.
Exactly.
Why not a track?
Exactly.
So.
And an underpass, a bridge over it, and then an underpass.
Suzuka. So.
Water feature.
You've now. Sorry, let's just continue on your plans.
And the flowers are going to be white and red, so that's sorted. And I do want like a bridge over and an underpass underneath, and then AstroTurf on the inside for the infield, so we can actually use it as a garden. And then we've got this massive brick back wall that I just wanted to paint like a stadium or a crowd in and stuff.
That would be very cool.
Competitive modding of the cars now.
Yeah, so Ben painted his, and I have a Lara motor car in like my colours and stuff. And then Ben upgraded his suspension, and then now finally on Google Earth has updated with a new build, and it is actually the racetrack in the back of the garden. So I was like, yes! Winning.
But now you've stopped doing the track racing.
For now.
Sorry, let's all stop and gasp at the person who didn't turn their phone off.
No, please.
Oh.
Oh, it's one of the flip ones as well. Nice. Sparkles.
Don't worry, we'll all wait for you. No pressure. So, your weekends now, not so much taken up with racing, but one thing you have started doing is a lot more presenting.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I have.
So, I mean, obviously, you've presented on Motorbike TV.
Yeah. Absolute privilege, Sean. Thank you.
Very welcome. But you're also now presenting with Bike World as well.
Yeah.
Which is very, very cool. So, I mean, the two biggest motorbike shows.
We're getting there.
Well, yeah.
I think it's like the joy of what I've been doing with you is the kind of, it's like a grassroots build of what the series is.
Yeah.
Whereas Bike World is a bit more established. Which had different kind of pressures, but the opportunity that I've had with obviously the producer Al Rawlings has been quite good fun really. I've just come back from Dubai on the Ducati Davil V4. They basically had a private road in Jebel Hafeet, like near about 2 hours east of Dubai, and we just thrashed these V4s up it. And that was quite an experience. They've got a good roar to them. And then I got to test the latest Triumph R and the RS model in the south of Spain in Jerez. I called it Jerez for ages. And they were like, nope. So that was quite a good laugh as well. So yeah, it's been a good opportunity. And it also a really good reality check on what it means to do that job. Because there's definitely the absolute jolly of amazing, you've got to go out and thrash a great bike on a private road. It's awesome, but the reality of the travel, lack of sleep, it seems a bit silly, but random hotels and then getting on a bike, and then you have to ride it fast, well, and quickly, immediately. And if you've got to be content with that.
There's no warm-up time.
No,
you've
no,
got a day
it's
on a bike, and during it, you've got to get all the right
full
shots.
send straight away, which I felt comfortable with, but it was a good wake up. Yeah. And then the same in Jerez. It's like, there you go and get your knee down. I mean, I'm happy with that, but there was just it's a luxury, but also you have to perform.
Oh no, I mean,
there's a camera in your face straight away as well, so I will be at the circuit expecting you to do something that looks vaguely presentable. Yeah. And then compared to, say, getting the chance to think about what you want to tell people about the bike, there's now a camera in your face then talking already about the bike and adding value that isn't just a regurgitation of the sales script that they'll tell you before you ride it. Yeah. So I have to learn quite quickly that I really want to convey how good it is, but also add something that's pragmatic that isn't, this is the Triumph sales speech on it. Yeah. So it's been...
To be fair, I do know Alan quite well, and last time I spoke to him, he said you were doing a brilliant job, so well done.
Thank you.
But I mean, presenting is something that you want to kind of keep doing and keep going with?
Absolutely. As long as I just engage with the audience, that's the main focus, really. Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, fantastic. Because actually, the reason we got you on the show was because we were going to do something on the Isle of Man with Christy, and she couldn't go because she hadn't had all the COVID precautions that time. So we did a little kind of competition. Yeah. And then you sent us a little video of you presenting, wasn't it?
Yeah, I tried, yeah.
And it was, and then, and just everyone loved you. You did such a great job presenting and stuff like that, that it was, I think it would have been a riot if we hadn't have brought you back for the next series. So.
Yeah, but there's a tiny bit of backstory to that, and I'm trying to develop a connection with anybody here. So about 4 or so years ago, I had a bit of like, I don't know, I think meltdown's the wrong word, but I went through a point in work where I wasn't very happy, so my day job had taken over everything. My hours weren't like 8 till 4 anymore. I worked for a big old engineering company, Rolls-Royce, but I'd lost the love for it a bit, and so I was doing stupid hours, really intense weeks, and I'd lost the kind of Lara bit that we like to do all the hobbies on the side, and I was in the doctor's just crying, quite literally just crying at him, and he was like, you need to take time off work. I was like, I think you're right, blub, blub, blub. And then I was like, well, what do I love doing? What's my favourite thing? And all of you have those inner hobbies that fire you up. And it was like, it's riding bikes. I'd stopped racing or done less bike time. And I was like, I've got to find a way to get time on 2 wheels again. So I set up a YouTube channel called Lara Moto. Yeah. And spoke about my Ducati Supersport because it was in my garage, and used that as leverage to speak to Fowlers in Bristol to let me ride their bikes. But I couldn't even talk to my GoPro in my garden. So I couldn't talk to my own camera on my own in my garden because I didn't know how to do it. So that was about 4 years ago. And what happened is that I made that video, and then that gave me the confidence to try another video, and then I tried presenting in front of people that weren't anything to do with me on a California superbike school. Yeah. And then I realised no one gives a proverbial, just go and talk to the camera because that's what you want to do. So I did. Yeah. And that gave me that. And so when I applied for your job, I'd spent 3 years trying to make a YouTube channel and learning how to talk a bit. And that's what came to you. So it wasn't like I did nothing. Yeah. I chipped away at what I thought was reasonable camera presence, and I think that helped.
But it's great. It was great to see how you progressed, because like the first time we did the TT, every time we presented something, you'd then turn around and go, "Is that okay? Is that okay? Do you want me to do it again? Is that okay? Are you sure that's okay?" And it's like, "Yeah, it's fine. I promise. Like I would tell you to do it again if you needed to." Yeah. But you know, and then it's and I remember actually when you got offered Bike World. And you asked if you could have a quick chat with me and Graham, because you were kind of like, is this okay? Because I know that we've been doing stuff with that. And me and Graham were both like, oh my God, we're landed for you. I think it's brilliant. Because, we've known Al for years, because we've made stuff that he's put on the show and things like that. And I just think it's brilliant. And I do think, without trying to, get your head too big. I think you're brilliant at it, and I think it's
It's very kind, but what gets released isn't actually what happens sometimes.
Oh, no.
You know, you know, in editing,
Yeah.
that there's a lot of work that goes into.
what you like that bit where it makes it look really dramatic at the start of your segment when you're doing the biking, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, did she die?"
Did she die? Did she do it?
You got to add a bit of drama into things. But
But what makes the cut and what we all see and consume in modern media is a highly edited version of ums and ahs and uhs and saying the wrong thing. The amount of times I called the street triple the speed triple, or the speed triple the street triple, or the 675. Al had to make me do separate voice bits of saying the right numbers so he could put it in over when I made a mess of that on film. So what looks like a really seamlessly edited shot is a highlights reel of me making a lot of mistakes. And that's what you don't see, and you assume that I'm getting it right first time, because I'm sure as hell not.
just shows how good the editors are, really.
Very much so. Yeah, but it's true though. You turn mediocre ticketer.
I'll edit this bit out.
Like this, yeah. Fantastic. But I think this is a good time to have a little break.
Yeah.
Everyone can go and get some coffee. Before you all run off, when we get back, we're going to be doing questions and answers from the audience. So over here is